What's up, my Yugi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome to Casual Friday. Today I'm drinking plain old water because we're out of soda water, so I can't make anything crazy. I'm also just kind of taking a break from listening to the Kimberly story. If you don't know what the Kimberly story is, Google it. I promise you nothing bad will happen to you. Anyway, the Kimberly story is really long and entertaining, but I wanted to take a break from it for a little while to do some Casual Friday. I have a very long Q&A session ready for you guys today, so I'm not certain if I have any further discussions after that or reviews. I don't have any packs to open for you, so I'll just give some channel updates at the end of the video, and that will be that. Let's get down to the Q&A. We start off with Dale and Zhang. It says, thoughts on Inzektors. I think that Inzektors a little while ago were a very good deck. They were topping regionals fairly consistently. They even, I think, had a YCS top. However, this format, they're basically Infernities with worse soul charge plays. So while they can do some pretty cool things, I think there are a lot of decks that can do the things that Inzektors do better than Inzektors. Dominic Milano or Mayano says, what is your opinion on recent price hikes on cards like Vanity's Emptiness and Spell Chronicles? I think that Vanity's Emptiness and Spell Chronicles, first of all, are in a totally different league from each other. Vanity's Emptiness is actually totally legitimate, since it is a short print common from a set that never got reprinted, and it's basically the most important card of the format. So Vanities is totally justified being at like $25. Spell Chronicles, however, was just a result of the Yu-Gi-Oh community being stupid. Somebody decided to troll us, a very good player decided to troll us by hyping the card and seeing what happened, and we fell for it hook, line, and sinker because we don't bother to read cards when a good player tells us that a card is good, or a player that we think is good tells us that a card is good. If you instead read Spell Chronicles before you read the article, you just heard that Spell Chronicles was getting hyped, you would have realized the card is absolute crap. So I don't even understand how that happened, other than the fact that the Yu-Gi-Oh community can be just totally stupid sometimes. And not all the time, of course, but sometimes we're just pretty darn gullible. Jared, yes, his name is just Jared, says, what is your favorite Queen song? Jared, that isn't even a question. It's Don't Stop Me Now. Why do you think I put it in my opening? Why do you think that I said that I would dance to it if I won the next great YouTuber? It's one of the greatest rock songs ever written, and y'all can argue with me about that, but I mean, you're wrong, but you can argue with me about that if you want. And he says, Yu-Gi-Oh related question, what do you think about the Yang Zing deck, and do you have any good techs for the deck? So Yang Zing they're interesting. Konami has announced that there is going to be a TCG exclusive, or maybe it's been leaked. I got it through a Yu-Gi Organization article. You guys should check out the Yu-Gi Organization website. I'll try to link you to it in the description below. The Yu-Gi Organization basically leaked that that they're going to get a TCG exclusive that will make the deck, quote, Tier 2 or Tier 1 status. So they should be getting some decent plays in the next set. However, right now, the problem with the Yang Zing that I found when I was reviewing them on DevPro or Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro was that when I played with them, I found that I was gaining a lot of fake advantage. What that means is that I was getting a lot of cards that I couldn't make plays with, especially in the skill drain build where you can't make synchro plays as easily, or your synchro plays aren't as powerful because of skill drain. The deck doesn't really have a significant win condition at the moment. In the skill drain build, players have started running the hands, but in that case, the hands are really the win condition, and the Yang Zings are kind of there for backup. You can solve that to some degree by adding in Mass Chameleons and Junk Synchrons, both of which are very good cards for the deck, and that's how I ended up making really big plays, along with Soul Charge in my deck review for it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, which I will link you to in the description below. We move on to San Diego Snuggler, which is a deceptively cute name for the fact that his profile picture is a direwolf that appears to be painted in blood, asks, given the impact it has had on this format, do you think there is any risk of Vanity's Emptiness getting hit on the upcoming list? I think it's absolutely certain that Emptiness is going to get hit. I don't think that it's going to get banned per se, since the 5D's Legendary Collection is coming up, and a secret rare reprint for Vanity's Emptiness would be pretty darn cool. It would be awesome if it was ultra rare. If it was ultra rare, I would be so happy. But it's probably going to be secret rare, so they do have some profit to stand to make from that. However, Vanity's Emptiness is such a prominent card this format that I think that it is absolutely certain that it's going to get hit by the list. San Diego Snuggler also asks, what are your opinions on the Megatins? I think that the Megatins they kind of go two ways. I wouldn't buy them personally, like if I were getting them for free, say in a channel contest that may be coming up, then I would be perfectly happy with them. But as time goes on, I think they become a less and less good investment. Because the thing about these tins is that their promos get super hyped when they first come out. they get a fairly decent price. So, like, the cards that are coming out in the mega packs are going to have a fairly decent price right now. However, the market is going to be flooded with these things because, since it's such a good investment, players are going to be getting a ton of these things. So the market is going to be flooded with supply, and demand is going to continue going down because only a few cards in that set are really being used frequently this format, and are going to be used frequently in the coming formats. For instance, Dichotomy right now is a fairly decent price hype. However, there are very few decks in the format right now that can use Pot of Dichotomy. Also, Mecha Beast Dragosack is another example of this. It is a really great card. It was a fabulous reprint. I'm so glad it's happening. However, it is a card that is almost entirely irrelevant to the meta right now, except in Mermails and to some degree Dragon Rulers. So the card is going to have a huge supply, and a lot of people getting the card because of its price, so they can use it as trade bait, but nobody's going to want it, which is immediately going to make the price go down because people are going to start selling it at lower and lower prices. So I think initially the tins are a really good investment, and I think eventually it's going to become much, much worse of an investment. So we move on to Enric's Keeper. What's your ideal win condition? Aggro, control, or stun? I'm a big control guy. I really enjoy control. I played a lot of stun decks in my life, and they're kind of fun, but I realize that they either go into time a lot, or a lot of people don't like playing against them because a lot of players feel that stun is degenerate, which it is sometimes, so I enjoy control the most. Also, do you think that Konami should add some support to older archetypes, Gravekeeper style? Well, they've been doing that. They've been adding a lot of new cards to older archetypes. And it is, as Enric's Keeper brings up, a fairly good way for Konami to do things, since they can keep adding to previous decks that people liked already, so that people are more likely to stay in the game so that they can play their favorite decks when they get new support. Galactic God asks, what do you think is the most overlooked deck this format? And why do you think players to regard it so high? I'm not certain if, based on that last part, whether you're asking me what's the most overhyped deck, which I would say is Shadows. I'll talk about that in another video. I'm fairly certain, however, you're asking me what's the most underrated deck, and if that's what you're asking, I think it's hands down, no question, Evil Swarm. Evil Swarm is definitely the most underrated deck of the format. I think that Evil Swarm is freaking amazing in a Vanity's Emptiness heavy format. And the reason is because they have, well, it's basically a deck built out of large beaters. Like, the majority of the cards in there can beat out almost every monster in the top decks this format, since Heliotrope and Thunderbird both have the potential to go to 1950, being able to beat anything in the Shadow deck except for going to the extra deck, and since Caster has 1750, which is bigger than most of the Satellanite monsters that you're going to be seeing. So just their monsters plus Vanity's Emptiness alone is good enough. But once again, Ophion is just a juggernaut of a boss monster, and is amazing against Shadows. And the deck can run Macro and D-Fissure, which is amazing in this current format. It can also run Soul Drain, which is also amazing in this current format. And just between Ophion and Vanity's Emptiness, like, it has the best Vanity's Emptiness plays of the format. And it also has the Exciton Knight Pandemic combo, which basically guarantees that you can get Exciton Knight plays through, which is amazing. So I think that easily Evil Swarms are the most underrated deck of this format. So we move on to Muhammad Aziz, who asks, thoughts on Thunder Dragon as a tech this format? My problem with it is as the Tengu issue, which is that if you draw multiples, it's really bad. If you draw multiples, it's essentially dead, and that's really bad. I think there are better ways to get your +1s for Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. However, if your deck really wants to see good Phoenix Wing Wind Blast plays early game, then I think it's an absolutely fine thing to run. And he says, also, what do you think Monarchs really need to be competitive? They need a new engine. They need a new engine besides the Frogs. They need something that they contribute besides the Frogs, because Return of the Monarchs is really the best card that they have, and they can't use it while they have to use the Frog Monarch combo. However, they now do have both Monarch Stormforth and Soul Exchange, so if they find like even a decent engine, then they may be able to get going fairly quickly with something like the Wyver Burst or Collapse Serpent engine. It's just they don't need as much help as they used to need. We have from Ghost Hawk, who asks, do you think there is any Glad Beast build that is able to perform well against meta decks? I haven't tested Glad Beasts. I feel like War Chariot is an absolutely spectacular card this format, but I just like it's since it isn't searchable, it seems like the deck may not be able to do particularly well. However, since it's kind of like the reason why I was running Guaiba in Dino Rabbit, since a lot of this format deals in really puny monsters, I think the Gladiator Beasts can get their tag out effects fairly frequently. And if you can find a way to get around the big problem things like the Shadow fusions and like Dante, then the deck can actually do fairly well. We have from Team Medolce OTK, what card do you want to see come off the ban list but won't, and a card that you don't want to see off the ban list that might come back? Okay, it's time for RJ to be an unpopular opinion puffin here. So the card that I want to see come off the ban list that won't is Wind-Up Carrier Zen Mighty. We only have one Magician now. Shockmaster is banned. Why is Zen Mighty still banned? I love wind-ups, and I think that it's a totally skillful deck, especially without the massive Wombo Shark Magician combos. There's no reason for Zen Mighty to be on the ban list right now. However, I don't see any reason why Zen Mighty would come back. So that's a card that I don't think will come off the ban list, but I would like to see. A card that I think might come off the ban list that I don't want to see, once again, unpopular opinion time, Dragon Ravine. And the reason is because if they bring back Dragon Ravine, they're going to ban the Dragon Rulers. And I think the Dragon Rulers are a much more fun deck. Mythic Rulers are a much more fun deck than pure Dragoonity. And I think Dragoonities as a deck are linear and extremely boring, and I get so sick and tired of playing against them because there are a lot of players at my locals who really like Dragoonities, and they're just a really boring deck to play against. So I would rather not see Dragoonities come back at the cost of losing Dragon Rulers, which are an exciting and dynamic deck both to play and to play against. From Silver Suppressor, will we get the new hero support? I think that we will. It'll probably be in like February when our last structure deck came out. And he asked what will the future of heroes be like when the structure deck comes out. I'm not certain. I've really liked watching Shadowblade Turbo play, which is the deck that I posted by Nick Gibson during the Next Great YouTuber on Underworld6667's channel. I'll link you to that in the description below. However, I'm not certain. What are some side deck cards to side against Burning Abyss and Yang Zheng? Well, easy, Macrocosmos and D-Fissure. You've basically got it covered right there. And Vanity's Emptiness to some degree if you have a deck that can put large beaters on the board. From Zeroa THD, we have, what do you think about smoke screening, and do you think it has a chance at competitive play? We have seen smoke screened decks top. The thing about smoke screening is that in order for it to be competitive, you have to be smoke screening into a deck that has a completely different side deck presence for your opponent than the deck that you were playing before. If your opponent's going to be siding in cards that are going to be effective against the deck that you're smoke screening in, then you're going to have trouble because, like, you could have been side decking against those cards rather than siding in a completely different deck that's just going to lose to the same side deck cards. Sam Friedman says, can you take a look at my YouTube? I just started but already have great content with slightly bad quality. Also, where did you buy your tripod? I did look at your YouTube, and you make videos, discussion videos, on a hill, and they're pretty entertaining, and they're about relevant subjects. So if you guys want to check out Sam Friedman, I will link you to his channel in the description below. Speaking of shoutouts, I have had a request from Team Judgment Yugioh to give them a shout-out. They were in the Next Great YouTuber with me, so I do want to give them a shout-out because I'm fairly loose with shout-outs, and these people are fairly new, and obviously have some decent quality. So I will link you to their channel in the description below, so a shout-out to Team Judgment Yugioh. We have from Keith Harrison a couple of questions. Oh dear. First, what are your thoughts on Mispolymerization, the Emperor's Holiday? I don't know why you're asking about the Emperor's Holiday. I think it's a bad card. There are much better things if you're losing to Noble Knights consistently than Emperor's Holiday. But yeah, there you go. And for Mispolymerization, I don't know why you wouldn't just run Chthonian Polymer, which is the card that instead of sending it back to their extra deck, adds it to your side of the field when they fusion summons. I think that's much better than Mispolymerization. Or you could just run Defusion, which does the same thing at any time. 2, what can you see for the next format as the high-tier decks? Definitely Qliphorts are going to see high-tier play. I think that Satellanites with Tri-Veil are freaking spectacular, and beyond that, it depends on how the Noble Knight support goes, and how the new Yang Zing support goes. I think that Shadows are generally going to drop off the face of the planet. What do you see Mega Caius' effect be, And when do you think he'll finally be released? I think that if we get a Caius, it's going to be the format after Zaborg, or it's going to be the set after Zaborg. And I think it's probably going to be banish 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field, and if you tributed a dark monster, then you can do something involving inflicting life points. From banish 2 turns, thoughts on Dimension Slice? Dimension Slice is kind of eh. I'd rather run a better spot removal card than that, since you have to wait a turn. From Eric Nilsson, we have, what is your opinions on Imaginary Yugioh? Imaginary Yugioh is actually super cool. I'll see if I can link you guys to the article in the description. I think that it's a really cool way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It tests your knowledge, and it sounds like a lot of fun. I haven't tried it yet, but I am definitely going to try it in the near future with my friends at Dice Age Games. From Mr. Will Does, is there a way to make zombie decks competitive? The problem with zombie decks right now is basically the same problem as Yang Zings. They don't really have a lot of plays to make. They can make kind of rank 4 Xyz plays with Zombie Master, but there are decks that do that way better right now. They don't have a lot of spectacular plays, so in order for them to be good, they need more plays, and they need more consistent plays as well. Hades X736, what are your thoughts on anime? There are some animes that I really enjoy and some animes that I think are stupid. I used to be a huge Japanophile. I'm not certain what the word is for that. I used to really like basically everything Japanese. There's still some really good Japanese music out there that I really like. I really like the Pillows. They're a Japanese rock band. They're kind of like Japanese OK Go in OK Go's earlier days. They're pretty good. They're pretty darn good. I think that there are some animes that are really good. I'm really into Attack on Titan because it's just spectacular and well written. I really liked Hitman Reborn back in its day because it's just fun. Gurren Lagann is just awesome, but there are just a lot of animes that I think are kind of dumb. Zach Bowling made the awful mistake of asking me about trigger effects. So he's asking about the trigger effects from discarding Atlanteans and whether they can make things miss timing and when they activate. So the thing about trigger effects is they are spell speed 1, which means that if their trigger is met in the middle of a chain, then they have to wait for a new chain to start in order to activate. So that's kind of how that works. I hope that that answers your question. David Casimir asks, personally, I want to know of your thoughts on ninjas. I wish that they just had more support. I wish that they had more good cards other than Hanzo. Hanzo is basically their one good card right now, and Hanzo can't do a huge amount on his own. So I just wish that they had more support, like one more monster that does good things, and the Hanzo and Upstart Golden Ninja combo might actually be pretty decent. But as it is, just like the White Dragon Ninja safe zone play is like all that they have, and with Phoenix Wing Wind Blast being so prominent in the game right now, that is such an easy play to turn off. It's super underwhelming. From the Hand History Vault, we have, have you ever played the Dragon Ball Z CCG? Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the only TCG CCG I play. I played Magic casually for a little while, and I still kind of play with my girlfriend sometimes, but I just don't have the money to play 2 CCG TCGs. From Qliphort Adam, why do you think it was a good investment to trade Dante for the Mermail deck? To me, I feel like the Mermail deck is somewhat outdated, while the Xyz is more stable, making it better. What is your reasoning? I traded the Dante for the Mermail deck because it was a good deal. I got a lot more money's worth of cards out of that trade than I had just through the Dante, and I was never going to use the Dante, and I wanted to make a Mermail deck. In my opinion, a decent competitive deck is worth way more than a single card to me all the time. There's just no question. What do you think about Noble Knights and their Qliphort matchup? I don't know anything about their Qliphort matchup. I think that, to some degree, Kaiser Coliseum is amazing against Qliphorts. I apologize for the phone noise in the background. Kaiser Coliseum is really good against Qliphorts, but I think like Bujins could do a better job of using Kaiser Coliseum against them. Also, I suppose there's the fact that Bujins are probably going to get hit in some capacity on the next ban list. So I suppose Noble Knights could be a really good Qliphort matchup, particularly with the new support coming out. From M. Stranger, do you think Mythic Rulers with Koa'ki Meiru Drago is a viable deck, considering the top tier decks are all light and dark right now? I think Koa'ki Meiru Drago is really good, but I feel like there might be a better way to run it, like some kind of Chaos Dragon variant? I don't know. Mythic Rulers are good, but they have a lot of potential to get total brick hands, And if they're going to lose Soul Charge this format, then I think that the deck might lose a lot of power. From OJ the Black, what decks should players play that aren't the big three? Being Shadows, Hell Knight, and Burning Abyss. Like I said, Evil Swarms. Evil Swarms are a freaking amazing deck. Boojins are also really good this format, and so are Spellbooks. Mermails are also very good this format. There are just a lot of really good decks this format that can beat the top three. Do you believe that the Artifact Engine will go out of style like the hands have slowly started doing? I think that the Artifact Engine is going to get hit before they go out of style. I think that either Moral Talk or Theosophy is going to get hit before Artifacts stop being good. Alright, so channel updates now that the Q&A session is over. I promised that I have the Galaxy Photon recap review coming. However, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro has totally broken down on me, so I'm going to have to do it without my replays of duels. I'll just kind of talk about how my duels went. That is coming. Banlist according to Logic is coming, but it's going to be a totally different format from what you expect. And I did allude to it earlier, but I am going to be doing a contest possibly involving the Megatins in the near future, so stick around for that. Meanwhile, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, remember that this is a great time if you want me to answer any questions to ask them in the comment section below, and I will respond to them during my next Q&A Monday or Casual Friday video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See ya.